I'll just cut to the chase. It was deadlock. Reason why I haven't been posting is because I got so immersed into deadlock, I couldn't have given a shit about posting. But I'm back trying to make it work this time, and this time I actually have a very important video for at least myself to produce here. And it's one of talking about your own personal identity. Give me a second though. And yes, I'm totally just jumping in here and not giving you guys a single chance to see me after 2 weeks. But hey, here we are. Here I am. Not looking as great, but fuck it, we ball. I'm here to talk about your own personal identity and what that means for you. Reason why I bring this up is because of me choosing the path I've gone on in college. So initially, growing up around high school, all I knew was computer science, and I loved computer science, and I knew I wanted to be a computer science student. Even to this day, I'd like to call myself a computer science student, since I'm actively learning computer science even within a different program. But what happened was, I would take computer science at the, how would I say this? The university named after my major city, you know? I would join this program, and I noticed that the work was extremely fast-paced for someone like me to learn. I'm a very slow guy. I'm a slow learner. So something like that for me really fucked with me. I didn't really have as much free time as I wanted to maybe do something like this, or practice deadlock, or learn my skincare routine at the time, because at the time I didn't fucking know anything. All these different factors led me to eventually drop out of the computer science program in that university, and then go to a different college fairly close by. I wouldn't say so. Maybe it's in the downtown area, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily close by. But at the same time, instead of going into computer science at that college, I would instead go into the film program, since I love YouTube and I love editing. And I got in by fucking miracle, because the video I sent to them was absolute dog shit. But anyways, I go in, and immediately I'd have stars in my eyes, because I see the films that these people are producing, and I'm getting to know my whole cohort, and they're all nice. We're all going out drinking, having a good time. But slowly, I start to notice cracks in the whole facade, the whole visage. I notice, maybe I'm using visage wrong there, but I start to notice cracks in the entire system, which really boils down to how people really think about each other, how people really feel about each other. I started to notice that these people really don't fuck with each other, but they only do it to keep up the guise of networking. They do it because they want to go higher up in the film industry. And that's when I realized that a lot of these people want to be go-getters and don't do shit, or they want to be fucking bums for the rest of their lives. And you know what? Sorry, bums is not the proper term. Like, let's say a focus puller for someone else's project, you know? For the rest of their lives, they're focus pulling for 9 months, and then for 3 months they live on a fucking island in Hawaii, you know what I mean? But this took me like 3 years for me to eventually realize, and then I realized at that point that these people are fucking champ, bro. Like, these people really don't want what I want. I want to aspire for greatness. I want to be great. I want to do great shit. The people that are around, like, in this program, and this is nothing wrong with what they want, but I noticed that they don't want the same thing. And the people who say they want it aren't putting in the work that they need to. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, what can I benefit from this? You know, this is a very compromised group of people that don't necessarily like each other. They're not as incentivized into their projects as they would like to be, and also there are like a few that are really on it and trying to get as many roles as possible. But at the same time, I noticed that, and I noticed that it's only for a corporate incentive. A majority of these people are building up their repertoire to get into the corporate world, which in my mind, it can it's good, but for something like for me, it's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to go corporate. And I noticed this because as I was going on more and more film sets, the more and more people started weeding me out of the program because I'm the editing guy. But the second I get an editing job and it goes really bad because of not my problem, but I'm not going to say names, but you know, pretty much abuse. When I was abused editing a fucking project, that's when everything went downhill. That's when I just wasn't really given any more editing roles. And you know what? Fuck it. Whatever. You know, there's people that spend their nights 3 a.m. editing films. That's not me. I edit YouTube videos. I came here to edit YouTube videos. I will always love editing, and that's what I came into the program for. I'll say it proudly. But I'm only mentioning this because now I'm in my last semester, halfway through pretty much, and I'm looking at this, and I was on set for pretty much the last time ever yesterday. And I noticed how I couldn't do anything because everyone else was so much more into it, you know? They're trying to really grind this out and make something happen here. Maybe like a 0.1 percentile of the entire group. But the rest of them, they're like, yeah, we did this safety program, we did this, we did that. Tyler, just stand there and hold a ladder. That was my whole job. I was standing there using a ladder. And you know what? Fair enough. I understand now because I wasn't as dedicated, you know? They wanted to, like, I understand it. It's a place where these people don't really care about each other. They care more about improving themselves as creatives. Or not even creatives, improving themselves as arms, as appendages for creatives, you know? They care more about developing themselves to be an object for someone else's creative vision. But yet they don't, like, a lot of these people don't understand that. They see themselves as the creative. They see themselves as the person who's going to make it. And you know, it takes a fucking lot. It takes a lot. Neither am I even making it. Like, look at me. I'm posting to a channel with fucking 20 subscribers. Like, who am I, bro? Who the fuck am I? But in any case, I really sat down and it made me question, like, am I a fucking loser? Like, who am I? I'm playing a fucking game to get to the top rank and possibly get into a tournament. I've ran a marathon. I'm trying to weightlift. I'm also trying to meal prep at the same time. I'm learning skincare. Who am I? Who the fuck am I? And I sat down, and this is when I was in the car driving home. I sat down and I realized, well, I'm not a director right now. I'm not a musician right now. But eventually I'm going to be all of them. And I realized that when you talk about someone like, let's say Ed Sheeran, for example. Ed Sheeran is a singer. Everyone will say, yeah, Ed Sheeran is a singer. Kanye West, he built himself up to be a fashion designer and an artist. So people would say he's a fashion designer and an artist. Similarly with me, I want to be everything I'm into. You know, I'm into Photoshop. I'm gonna work really hard during some phase of my life to become an artist. I want to become a Photoshop artist. Maybe even just a drawing, just like an artist in general. I'd also like to one day become a musician. I'd love to get back into music and start singing again. And I have a variety of different ideas for my projects. I also have ideas for film projects I'd like to produce, possibly like an indie film that I have in my mind that I'm not going to explain too much of because of course I don't have a fan base nor funding to produce it yet, but my whole goal is to eventually achieve that. Of course this exists. I want to become a YouTuber, weightlifter. There's all these different things I want to be, and I don't really give a shit about becoming the best at it. I don't want to be the best. Like LeBron could possibly be considered the best basketball player of all time. I am not trying to be the best at anything. I am just trying to be a lot of things, and I want to show that you aren't in a box. Like, everyone in this program loves film. They're in the film box, you know, and that's why it's hard for me to conversate. Ooh, my fucking wings of redemption. It's hard for me to converse with a lot of people because I'm into film, don't get me wrong, but I'm not into film to the extent that these people are. I'm someone who lives within a very wide and varied box, and honestly, I want to prove myself. That's what I've been trying to do this entire, like, these past few months. I'm just trying to prove myself with coding, with everything. I want to develop a project that can certify me as a coder or a programmer. I want to, you know, build my body up to an extent where I can be called a weightlifter, you know? Maybe I can learn enough about skincare to finally make my skin look really good and become a skincare, like, specialist, you know? Maybe not a dermatologist, but a guy who knows a lot about skincare. You know, I want to get good enough at Deadlock where I can finally play in a tournament and be considered a pro player, a competitive gamer, a pro gamer. You know what I mean? Which sounds fucking corny, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. And it made me realize that my scope is way broader than this. And it's also then lens into how I am performing, because I see myself, and right now, as of this phase, I am right now working a job that pays me 8 hours a week, which is fine enough for me. I am still trying to go to concerts, but at the same time, I'm taking care of my girlfriend, a few friends I have left, working out, skincare, like meal prepping, my school. Like, I'm doing a lot, and I don't know if I'm going to make it in anything I just mentioned. I really want to be all these things, but I don't know how I can do it. And I'm just praying to God every day that the way I'm approaching it is the right way to do it. And I initially started this video saying that this is about you, and I talked a lot about me, but I really want to lend credence to the audience, you, the viewer, to think about who you are. And really, if someone mentioned your name, what would then precede that? Would they say, oh, he's nice, oh, he's a friend of mine? Or would he say, oh, he's a fashion designer, oh, he's a musician? You know, what would you say? Like, I could say that easily for one of my friends. I could go up to my buddy and be like, yo, this guy's a musician. Because that's what he is. Like, he dedicates himself to it, and he posts it, and he promotes it. Like, people can call me a YouTuber too. There's a few people that do that, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I want you to sit down and think about what you want people to call you, because that is what you are going to be when you pass, you know? Sadly, of course. Like someone like me, you know? If sadly I were to pass away, what would I be remembered for? Right now I'd be remembered as someone who works really hard, but I'm not remembered for what I've achieved, and that's what I want to get to. You know, if I were to sadly pass away, I'd be remembered as a hard worker, a go-getter, someone with big dreams, you know? But I don't want them to just be dreams, bro. They need to be reality. So I need to be remembered as the guy who passed weightlifting, who rebuilt his whole life from the ground up, you know? This is who I am, and this is who I want to be for everyone. So I'm just saying to you, as an audience member, who do you want to be? And that's where I'm going to leave this video. Expect videos back every 3 days. I love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that nonsense. I love y'all. Peace out.